in which the last dangling threads of our story play out in the aftermath of Anna's death. In Chapter 12, Levine went in big strides along the main road, listening not so much to his thoughts, he still could not sort them out, as to the state of his soul, which he had never experienced before. The words spoken by the music had the effect of an electric spark in his soul, suddenly transforming and uniting into one of the whole swarm of disjointed, impotent, separate thoughts which had never ceased to occupy him. These thoughts, imperceptibly to himself, had occupied him all the while he had been talking about leasing the land. He felt something new in his soul, and delightedly probed this new thing, not yet knowing what it was. To live not for one's own needs, but for God. For what God? For God. And could anything more meaningless be said than what he said? He said one should not live for one's needs, that is, one should not lead for what we understand, but for what we're drawn to, for what we want, but for something incomprehensible, for God, whom no one can either comprehend or define. And what then? Didn't I understand those meaningless words of Fyodor's? And having understood, did I doubt their rightness? Did I find them stupid, vague, imprecise? No, I understood him, and in absolutely the same way that he understands, I understood fully and more clearly than I understand anything else in life. And never in my life have I doubted, or could I doubt it. And not I alone, but everybody, the whole world, fully understands this one thing, and this one thing they do not doubt and always agree upon. Fyodor says that Kirillov, the innkeeper, lives for his belly. That is clear and reasonable. None of us, as reasonable beings, can live otherwise than for our belly. And suddenly the same Fyodor says it's bad to live for the belly, and that one should live for the truth, for God. And I understand him from a hint. And I and millions of people who lived ages ago and are living right now, Mujiks, the poor in spirit, and the wise men who have thought and written about it, saying the same thing in their vague language, we're all agreed on this one thing, what we should live for and what is good. I and all people have only one firm, unquestionable, and clear knowledge, and this knowledge cannot be explained by reason. It is outside it, and has no causes, and can have no consequences. If the good has a cause, it is no longer the good. If it has a consequence, a reward, it is also not the good. Therefore the good is outside the chain of cause and effect. And I know it, and we all know it. But I looked for miracles. I was sorry that I'd never seen a miracle that would convince me, and here it is, the only possible miracle ever existing, surrounding me on all sides, and I never noticed it. What miracle can be greater than that? Is it possible that I found the solution to everything? Is it possible that my sufferings are now over? Thought Levine, striding along the dusty road, noticing neither heat nor fatigue, and experiencing a feeling of relief after long suffering. This feeling was so joyful that it seemed incredible to him. He was breathless with excitement, and, unable to walk any further, went off the road into the woods and sat down on the unmowed grass in the shade of the aspens. He took the hat from his sweaty head and lay down, propping himself on his elbow in the succulent, broad-bladed forest grass. Yes, I must collect myself and think it over, he thought, looking intently at the untrampled grass before him and following the movements of a little green bug that was climbing a stalk of couch grass and was blocked in its ascent by a leaf of angelica. From the very beginning, he said to himself, holding back the leaf of angelica so that it no longer hindered the bug, and bending down some other plant so that the bug could get over onto it. What makes me so glad? What have I discovered? I used to say that in my body, in the body of this plant and of this bug, he didn't want to go over to that plant. It spread its wings and flew away. An exchange of matter takes place according to physical, chemical, and physiological laws, and that in all of us, along with the aspens and the clouds and the nebulae, development goes on. Development out of what? Into what? An infinite development and struggle? As if there could be any direction or struggle in infinity. And I was astonished that in spite of the greatest efforts of my thinking along that line, the meaning of life, the meaning of my impulses and yearnings, was still not revealed to me. Yet the meaning of my impulses is so clear to me that I constantly live by it, and was amazed and glad when a music voiced it for me, to live for God, for the soul. I haven't discovered anything. I've only found out what I know. I've understood that power which not only gave me life in the past, but is giving me life now. I'm freed from deception. I found the master. And he briefly repeated to himself the whole train of his thought during those last 2 years. Beginning paragraph over again. And he briefly repeated to himself the whole train of his thought during those last 2 years, the beginning of which was the clear, obvious thought of death at the sight of his beloved, hopelessly ill brother. Understanding clearly then for the first time that for every man and for himself nothing lay ahead but suffering, death, and eternal oblivion, he decided that it was impossible to live that way, and that he had either to explain his life so that it did not look like the wicked mockery of some devil, or shoot himself. But he had done neither the one nor the other, and had gone on living, thinking and feeling, and had even married at that same time, and experienced much joy, and was happy whenever he did not think about the meaning of his life. What did it mean? It meant that his life was good, but his thinking was bad. He lived, without being aware of it, by those spiritual truths that he had drunk in with his mother's milk, yet he thought not only without admitting those truths, but carefully avoiding them. Now it was clear to him that he was able to live only thanks to the beliefs in which he had been brought up. What would I be, and how would I live my life if I did not have those beliefs, did not know that one should live for God and not for one's needs? I would rob, lie, kill. Nothing of what constitutes the main joys of my life would exist for me, and making the greatest efforts of imagination, he was still unable to imagine the beastly thing that he himself would be if he did not know what he lived for. I sought an answer to my question, but the answer to my question could not come from thought, which is incommensurable with the question. The answer was given by life itself, and in my knowledge of what is good and what is bad. And I did not acquire that knowledge through anything. It was given to me as it is to everyone, given because I could not take it from anywhere. Where did I take it from? Was it through reason that I arrived at the necessity of loving my neighbor, not throttling him? I was told it as a child, and I joyfully believed it because they told me what was in my soul. And who discovered it? Not reason. Reason discovered the struggle for existence and the law which demands that everyone who hinders the satisfaction of my desire should be throttled. That is the conclusion of reason. Reason could not discover love for the other, because it's unreasonable. Yes, pride, he said to himself, rolling over on his stomach and beginning to tie stalks of grass into a knot, trying not to break them. And not only the pride of reason, but the stupidity of reason, and above all the slyness, precisely the slyness of reason, precisely the swindling of reason, he repeated. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.